right, so welcome to episode 29 of the Breaking File podcast. Today is Thursday, May 2nd. Jesus, off to a good start. And I'm your host, Stephen Hamlin, postdoc at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. And let's jump right in. We got Heidi with us today.
I'm Heidi Smith. I'm a postdoc at the University of Texas at Austin.
Hi, I'm Tom Housley. I'm a PhD student at the University of Stirling in Scotland.
Did you just try and get yourself
a great
right?
episode already?
Yeah, it's a good start. And hi everyone, I'm Mike Kasumovic. I'm a lecturer at UNSW in Sydney, Australia.
And let's start off with a little elevator pitch from Mike, so he can give us a rundown on his research.
Oh, good. I'm so prepared for that. I thought this was supposed to be laid back, but okay, here we go.
No, it's actually a grant proposal.
Oh, yeah, I wish, because there'd be money at the end of this, wouldn't there?
No.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not for you.
Yeah, given how grants go nowadays anyway. So my research in general revolves around the idea of mate choice, how individuals choose mates and what affects their choice in mates. So this is both from what affects them during the juvenile stage and also what affects them during the adult stages. So a lot of my research works on crickets and spiders. The spider stuff is mostly done outdoors, which is fun. The cricket stuff is done indoors under red light, which Tom knows very well about. And I've recently moved into human research as well. So Heidi, I'm sure you're very pleased with that.
Is that done under red light too?
It is, with very soft music playing in the background.
Bow chicka wow wow.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Is your human research done on the grad students and postdocs that work in the cricket sweatshop factory under the red light?
No, that's a whole other question altogether.
Okay.
That's going to take years to answer those questions. The human research.
You don't want to skew your data with people like that.
Yes, exactly. Abnormal individuals. No, but human research works on video games, believe it or not. So why men and women are attracted to video games, can our evolutionary history explain some of the video games individuals prefer and how we respond to winning and losing in video games and how that can shape our preferences and our behaviors. So it's fun because I just spent $2,000 on video games and TVs yesterday, which was awesome. Who gets to do that?
So is this all
besides?
taking place in your house?
Yeah, I wish. There's not enough room in my house, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, because now you've turned half of it into a big entertainment theater.
I know. It's awesome.
I love that look on your face. It's awesome.
It is. So that's the elevator version of my research, I guess.
All right. So, I don't really give a shit about crickets or spiders. So,
Fair enough.
So let's start off.
You might go this way.
But you said something about computers, right?
Yeah. Computers are amazing.
What exactly are you doing with the video games? I have to know at this point because, frankly, it's driving me nuts.
Yes, fair enough. You do come in here every once in a while and wonder, so fair enough, I can explain pretty quickly. So usually what's going on in the research world in video games is pretty much in two different camps. One camp is, let's see how video games make people aggressive. Oh my god, they make people aggressive, this is awful. They clearly must lead to shootings. And then there's the people who say, no, they don't lead to shootings, and those people argue with one another. And then the other camp is, look how video games increase our perception and increase our reaction time and increase how we think. And isn't this wonderful? So there's a very neural side of things. There's a very personality, social psych side of things. So this is kind of the two camps you have in research, which is fine and fun, but boring to me because are we really surprised that video games make us aggressive? Christ, standing in line for orange mocha frappuccino at Starbucks and somebody ordering the wrong thing in front of you makes people very aggressive and pissed off. So why don't everything makes people pissed off? Are you kidding me? Hey, come on, listen to this podcast, you could probably piss people off. So,
reference the Bigfoot episode now.
Yes, there you go. So that's all fine and dandy, but I think some of the more interesting kinds of questions are trying to understand why individuals choose different games prefer different games, especially from a gender perspective. For example, women generally, of course, it's very general, on average prefer word games or simulation games or brain games, while men prefer, in general, these action kinds of games and these first-person violent kinds of games. Well, why is that? I think we can look through our evolutionary history to try and kind of understand why we have this kind of preference for these kinds of games.
So that's just wandering into the whole culture versus evolution debate now, that it's going to be, well, boys are socialized to like shooting things and,
It could be, but it definitely can go in that direction. But if you have kids, man, before my kids even knew what a gun was, they were picking up sticks and throwing them at each other, using them as weapons to shoot imaginary bullets at them. So there is some underlying evolutionary history that is kind of selected for aggression in males and not so much in females. But of course, it's not this bimodal distribution. They overlap with one another, which I think that overlap is part of the most interesting aspect of behavior and choice.
I also think that, I'm not a gamer myself, but...
we should fix that immediately.
I used to have a little DS I would play,
Sweet.
but I did mostly word games and things like that, and some old school like Mario Brothers. But I think girls are more common. It's more common that girls are casual gamers, and like the whole like first-person shooter, 360 degree, like that's a lot.
It is.
Like,
You're absolutely right.
There are games like Tekken, and every boy hates this, but you can press a bunch of buttons, and I can beat you without knowing what I'm doing. I don't need to know your kick combinations, but I can take you down from hitting a bunch of buttons. And I love games like that.
Fair enough. It is funny that there is this actual preference for women who do very much like fighting games. That's anecdotal, of course, but yeah, you're absolutely right, because you don't have to have that background knowledge to be able to play that kind of game. You can just go in there and button mash and have a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's fun. It's more fun like that. But there are some video games that are so girly, especially DS ones. They're all like dress up as your doll and whatever.
Yes.
Barbie's Pet Adventures or something.
Horribly sexist, isn't it?
Yeah, because it takes it too far. Like, fine, give us some word games. Like, we're nurturing. We'll care for your pet adventure.
Yes.
But come on, all like the fashion designer ones are really insulting.
They totally are, and that's absolutely it. And it's interesting you bring that up, because I forgot to mention it, a lot of the social psych does examine the gender perceptions of some of these video games and how women are actually shown in video games. Usually they're these lithe females with enormous chests, which just they can't exist in real life, and yet this is what gamers prefer. Gamers being mostly men, unfortunately. So things are changing. But.
What's that story about Tomb Raider? The idea that in the first Tomb Raider games, they were, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but the idea was that they were working on the 3D model for Lara Croft, and one of the designers made a mistake and just pulled out too far and created this gigantic chest. And
yeah, he made a mistake. I'm sure he made a mistake.
But the story goes he was going to fix it, and then one of the managers walked by and looked at it and went, no, keep it.
Yeah. What a surprise.
Yeah.
I'm sure
one of the managers or anyone working there. I really like the Peacock Spider. It's one of my favorite organisms. It's adorable. But my question is, how do you pick the background music when you show these videos?
It's not me. That is all Maddie Gerard. And so Maddie's put up one of those videos, which is pretty plain, and just the vibrations the spider makes. And there's another guy who puts up all the rest of those videos and picks the music. Man, I don't know what he's doing with that. That is not me. I love it. Going on. But man, those guys are way too hard to find. I could, if it wasn't for Maddie, I would never be working on those. I technically am not working on those. I'm really helping Maddie work on those more so than anything else. They're tiny. They're impossible to find.
All right, so
I didn't realize how small they were until the guy who does those pictures, then he had a picture where it was a male courting a female and it was on his thumbnail.
Yeah, they're tiny, they're so small, so all you do is walking around looking at your feet in tiny little steps. for hours and hours and hours on end.
So for the viewers at home that have no idea what you're talking about.
Right, peacock spiders are a really interesting little spider that were kind of discovered ages ago, but their behaviors just kind of really become very, excuse me, very interesting, and the media has become very interested in the little spider because they're these little tiny little spiders that have these little wings on their abdomen that they unfurl during courtship, very similar to what a peacock does. I'd like to say that's where the peacock got his name, from the spider, but no, that's
clearly not
the
true.
opposite. Yeah, I'm sure it's the opposite.
Spider cock sounds weird.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I would have to agree with you, Heidi. So they're really, really neat.
So does peacock when you think about it, though.
Yeah, actually.
Yes, exactly. So these little spiders have these little wings that they unfurl on their abdomen that have these really cool little patterns, and there's probably over 24 different species, and they all vary in the patterns and the coloration on their tails, but also vary in the vibrations and the courtship songs that they produce. So they're really interesting little spider to examine. Yeah.
Do males display in close proximity to each other? Because you said they're so spread out.
So we haven't had, yeah, they are very spread out, and we don't really know much of the male competition, but it doesn't look like there's very much. All the traits that they have look like they're really selected for by female choice. These really bright colorations, the intense dances, the way males approach females. They're tiny little guys, and they rarely find each other, so I don't think fighting has a really strong selective pressure for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So if they don't find each other very easily, how likely is it that a female won't mate with a male once he starts courting?
Surprisingly likely. And you know, these are still preliminary data that Maddie's actually just kind of going through. But I think it's less than a 50% chance. And often it seems a strong predictor of that is the female's age. Females wait until they're a bit older to start mating. And then once they do mate, they're extremely picky. So you really have to find a female at the right time of her life to be able to be successful, which sucks as a male. Because your chances of finding one, A, are so slim, and then B, finding them at the right time, it's even harder.
What do you think the percentage, what is the percentage of males that never mate?
I don't know. That's a really good question. And because these guys are so hard to follow in the field, it'd be hard to say. You can get a guess from lab work, but it's not uncommon for probably about 20 males and spiders to not mate, maybe even higher. So probably somewhere around there is my guess, but I don't really have a solid answer for you. Sorry.
Aww, that's so depressing. They're so fantastic looking, you know?
They are. They're very, very cool. All you have to do is just look up Peacock Spider on YouTube, everybody who's listening, and you'll see some amazing videos. They're very, very neat.
Yeah, and the music's good as well.
I'll have to check out some of the music on these.
I'll see if
I wanted to know whether it was you or Maddie or Damien who coined the term rumble rumps.
I think Maddie and Damien actually had a long discussion about what they should call that. But I think they came up with a good term. I like rumble rumps.
I wonder what were the rejected terms.
Oh, that is a very good question. I don't know. They've never talked about it, so who knows? They could have been something terrible. I can't.
All right. So I wanted to ask you about proper science, by which I mean.
Fair enough. What little I know about crickets. Just because I work on them doesn't mean I know anything about them.
Same here. It's fine. I mostly wanted to ask you about if you could just talk about your paper from last year where you were doing work on the juvenile social environment.
Oh yeah,
and how that affects, how individuals allocate resources at adulthood, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so in brief, I guess, one of the neat things we kind of found out with the crickets, which stemmed from some of my spider work during my PhD, is that males and females in their last juvenile instar, so about 15 days before they're mature, they start listening to what they hear in the environment. And by listening, I mean they hear and pay attention to other males calling. So males that hear a lot of variety and a lot of males calling take longer to develop and develop larger and heavier as a consequence. And the idea is that by developing longer and being bigger and heavier, they can outcompete other males because the environment, from what they're hearing, they suggest that there's a lot of males and a lot of competition out there. The interesting thing is they also change how they call throughout their lifetime. They put a lot more effort calling into later life, which is kind of neat. And females do the exact opposite. When they hear a lot of males calling, they mature much more quickly. To be able to reach those, the idea is to be able to reach those males that are present in the environment so they can mate with them before they die off. Interestingly, when they hear a lot of good quality males, and by good quality males that call a lot, what you find is that females, because they're smaller, because they're developing much more quickly, they also invest more resources into egg production, making bigger and heavier eggs, which is kind of neat. So it seems that their social environment before they mature is actually shaping how they look and how they behave as adults, which I think is kind of neat.
Cool. Oh, that's amazing. Do male crickets, I'm sorry, I'm not a cricket person.
Well, I'm not a cricket person either, I'm a regular person.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
It's a lame joke, I apologize.
Where's my rim shot on that?
Do male crickets, do they call before they're sexually mature?
No. They only call after about 5 to 10 days into maturity, they start calling. These guys anyway, the species.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And some of the, so one of the things I started looking at this last project is maybe we could start understanding some of these genes that are expressed during development in response to what they hear. And we are getting some kind of signals and differences. Males and females do seem to be expressing different genes at different times in response to hearing something or being kept in silence. But if anyone out there has done genomics studies, it's not nearly as clear as one would hope it to be. But it is kind of neat. There are differences in gene expression. We're just trying to figure out what exactly it means. Probably not very much.
Are you considering looking at whether there are indirect genetic effects then, if there's different genotypes are affecting how other individuals' gene expressions?
It would be really cool, and that's kind of a project that would be really neat to put together. But I need a PhD student because there's no way I'd have the time to be able to do that. That's insane. That's, you know how much work that is, Tom, I think.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, and then I've been putting it back to somewhere else.
I don't blame you. I've been thinking about it and doing the exact same thing. It's a hell of a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's at least a 3-year PhD.
I don't even want to think about it, actually.
I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you at all.
As far as working with them, which do you prefer, the crickets or the spiders?
The spiders are a hell of a lot more work keeping in the lab because you've got to rear flies and crickets to feed the spiders.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you to have spiders for 2 years.
I know, and it failed miserably this year. There were like no spiders up this year. It's a terrible field season. I barely collected any spiders.
I'm sorry, but your last year wasn't that great either.
I know, which is starting to suggest I'm not a very good scientist. I realize this.
I've been trying to do a 3D project with this clown for like 2 years. So I'm going to go in and record his spiders and model them in 3D space. But he never has any friggin' spiders.
Oh, I know. I'm terrible. I'm awful. I used to be a great field biologist, but having children and growing up has made me an awful field biologist because I never have the time for anything any longer.
Can't you just give your children some nets and just send them off into the Australian bush?
I'm hoping that happens very soon. They're only 5 and 2 right now. In a couple more years, I will work them to the bone because they will owe me. And that's all there is to it.
I mean, that's why people have children, right?
Exactly. So they can wash their cars and vacuum and stuff.
Collect spiders.
Collect their spiders and the crickets. So I like doing lab work with crickets because it's pretty easy, and I like doing field work with spiders because it's more fun. So they both have their purpose.
And they're better than humans.
And then humans because I love video games.
So, Mike, one of the things that we notice if we troll your website is the fact that you seem to be winning awards, and you're getting all kind of money and grants. And so, give the aspiring scientists around here some tips on how to be successful.
Oh man, the first way to be successful is always apply for awards and grants. You will definitely not win an award or a grant if you don't apply for one. I will guarantee you that much. And once you get over the fact of not winning these awards and grants, it kind of gets easier to apply for them, and then you get pleasantly surprised when you do actually win one. And once you win one, it does snowball, and you're more likely to win others because the people who give these awards out see that you won an award in the past, and that always perks them up. And also because you've won an award and you've practiced so long at writing these grants, you get better at them. And sadly enough, just like the rest of science, it takes a while to get good at anything. So you just got to keep working at it and keep writing them. And the other secret, apply for very new awards and grants because they have no idea what they're doing when they're picking people.
You just have to fool one person.
And once you fool one person, the rest are so much easier to fool.
And how important is having an awesome beard?
Yes.
It depends on the award. If you try to win academic beard, then clearly it is a very sexist award, I have to admit, because clearly half of the population can't even be awarded this award. But it's important to have a pretty sweet beard, and it's well kept.
I'm pretty disappointed. I had to shave mine off last week because I had a job interview, but it wasn't awesome.
Yes, it's always a little bit stunning when you shave a beard off after you've had it for us. Whoa, weird looking.
It hurts so much.
And your face is cold.
It's physically and mentally.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. So yes, the beard is important for beard awards, but not for other awards. So ladies, you don't have to worry about not having a beard for all the real science awards.
Wow. That's kind of a conversation killer. I don't know where to go from there.
I only answer the questions. I only answer what you guys ask me.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to know about beards.
It was that when I won that award, it was absolutely awesome. It's this guy in the UK who has a blog called academicbeards.com, and he just sent me an email saying, "You've been awarded Beard of the Month for December," which I thought was awesome because if any year to win Beard of the Month, December would probably be the best, simply because Santa Claus has a pretty sweet beard. So being able to in that for that month, be awarded that month is awesome. It's amazing. So I'm pretty proud of that. I was very stoked. I was very happy.
I think it's a transition. Like people in grad school and postdocs, they don't shave because they're lazy and they're always in lab.
Yes.
But then it's almost like you have to have a cool beard to be a PI.
I know. I agree. And it needs to be shaved in different shapes at random periods of time.
Yeah. Like if I went around the building, I would say most people. And if you don't have one, you got to rock like a bow tie or something. Steven, you got to come up with something. Like a hat with a twirly thing? I don't know.
Oh, that would be sweet.
You'd be the only person.
Oh, yeah. That'd be good. Your website would look incredible with that. With a photo of you with one of those twirly hats.
Yeah.
Is that a crack about my hairline?
No. Not at all. Awkward silence.
Now I hate all of you.
There you go.
All right. Well, that career advice.
Yes, there you go. Oh, come on. The other career advice is the same thing everybody gives you. Work hard and write good papers. Yeah, thanks. I'm doing that already, or trying to. What are you going to do?
Well, some of us are working hard, at least.
Yes. getting papers accepted is hard.
Yeah, I hear you. You've actually been tracking that, haven't you? The number of rejections for each of your papers.
They average about a minimum of 3, and they're usually about 5 before I get the paper accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's actually the sort of thing we need to talk about more. Truthfully.
Yeah, it's true. More people do need to understand that it's not. Don't get discouraged when you get a rejection because it's more common than you think. I get rejected all the time. And
even like the big names, you know, that you think, oh well, you know, they just bothered to write something down, that'll get into Nature, you know, but no, they get rejected all the time too.
They do, but sometimes you wonder how they do get that thing in Nature, because when you read it, it's like, really? Come on, that's in Nature. So it's okay to feel that way too.
That is a whole nother podcast.
Yes, that is a whole other podcast, I agree.
We could do one just on Nature's greatest failures.
There's a lot of them.
Did I read something on your website the other day where you were saying one of your papers got accepted? It was in one of the later submissions, but it got accepted really quickly because they actually used previous reviews.
Yeah, that was the Ecology and Evolution. It's awesome. Unfortunately, it costs money to publish in there, but long story short, it went into, I sent it into Evolution, Journal of Evolutionary Biology, and they were just rejecting it because of the space issue, right? There were no real problems that were brought up by the reviewers, and it just got frustrating. So I was talking to John a while back, and he was starting up this new journal, so I threw it in there, and the nice thing is you can send the reviews with them, and they contact the journal and get the confidential reviews, and they made a decision within 3 days, and it was accepted. So it was awesome. Yeah,
it seems awesome. Like I heard theoretical population biology is taking overflow from genetics, and
that's great.
Yeah, and things like that, and that new service, Peerage of Science.
Yeah.
Anybody else using that?
That's a weird one.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it yet, but
yeah, I don't think that one's going to work personally, because the idea is you submit a paper there, they review it, and then it goes to the highest bidding journal. But journals have so many papers; they don't need to bid for papers because they've got so many being sent in. They've got to reject.
They say they've got a few journals on board already, and
yeah, they do.
Published that way, but
I don't think it's going to move as smoothly. What we need more of, I think, is stuff like Ecology and Evolution, where individuals are sharing reviews that are already done. You know, if I send my paper to a minimum of 3 journals and on average 5, it means I'm going through at least 10 reviewers and 5 editors. Man, I'm eating up people's time, and the average academic is eating up way too much of people's time. They just don't have the time to review these because we've got to start sharing reviews between journals. We can start publishing things faster, especially when publishing things is the metric we use for the quality of a graduate student or a postdoc or a PI. So we just got to get things out earlier. This has gotten too serious. It's freaking me out.
I know. I freaked out when Steven said theoretical. I was like, oh shit.
Let's maybe talk about computers again.
Let's do some math, bitches. I want to thank you, Mike, for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I want to thank our one viewer for sticking with us.
Thanks, viewer.
We are, because I can't.
I hate our viewer.
Tom, it's like, how many more ways can you find to be a dick? I love it.
So many.
So many.
All right, and if you want to know more about us or know where to find us to kill us, that's brickingbio.com. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.